I've been looking at some ration books that a young lady gave me a while ago because she knew I was interested in all things England. And these are from, well, this one here is dated the 23rd of October 1939, issued just before the beginning of the Second World War. Well, just after October, November, December, yes, September. So just at the beginning of the Second World War. And then this one, I think, is issued a little bit later, perhaps just after or something, with lots of different stamps in it. It's fascinating to think that there was a time, obviously before my lifetime, that people were having to line up and pay for items, but on limited and being restricted with rations and things like that. These sort of bits of paper remind me of the Green Shield stamps of my youth that used to collect in order to get stuff off. And I suppose these days we have loyalty cards and things like that. And it made me think. I had been watching an interview with somebody talking about the farmers in the Netherlands, in which 3,000 farms are being mandatorily closed down, as far as I understand, and do correct me if I've got that wrong, because they're worried that the nitrates that they use in order to farm, and nitrate is something that helps plants grow, just as CO2, by the way, is the gas of life, is there to help plants grow. But the nitrates apparently they're now deemed as being bad. It seems anything that actually is good for the planet has been deemed by people in charge, and I say that very loosely, because who puts these people in charge? Certainly not I never voted for them to be in charge or to make these decisions. But the people who seem to be running and pulling the strings have deemed that it's very bad. They don't want meat, for example, to be grown or reared as a thing, or indeed dairy products, because cows create methane, and it's another global warming gas that's supposedly bad for the planet. And it's all nonsense. Of course, it's all nonsense. It's all rubbish. But the sad thing is that people's lives are being affected by it. And I'm going to have to call them buffoons. They are. And you may have far stronger language for them. Are going to, it seems to me, cause food shortages. If you close down, I'm not going to eat bugs. I'm not eating bugs. I'm sure vegans who are all for not having meat don't want to eat bugs either. We've had meat products, we've had dairy products since man basically was able to walk the earth and chase another creature and decided, well, it's either you, chum, or me, because I need to survive. And man, being clever and being able to manipulate tools, has chased animals and then discovered actually could rear animals and eat them. And in the past, we were very respectful about life. We would eat what we needed. We would kill what we needed. Apart from, obviously, there are those in higher echelon. The people in higher echelons of power have never had any respect for anything. And so they would have plentifulness and waste and things like that. I'm talking about your normal, average, everyday, communal garden, most respectful type of human being that we have on this planet, who would understand that if I'm going to kill this animal, I'm going to eat and utilize every part of that animal, because we all have a right to this planet. I think that generally we could all agree that that is a respectful thing, that most people have some form of moral code. And of course there are those that don't, but they're in a minority. And then there's those that are rich to the point where they don't give a damn about anybody else, they only give a damn about themselves. I'm not talking about them. So if we have these people though in charge, I can see that they're mad. They just seem completely mad. And so that we will have food shortages. We saw it during the pandemic when, of course, everyone was buying pasta because they were scared, and toilet rolls. And so people were limited. We've seen it now in supermarkets in some places where farmers cannot afford to feed enough chickens so that we can have the normal supply of eggs that we need. And so they are being restricted, rationed. And it doesn't seem too a step far now with this dictatorial government that we have, and governments that want to rule the world, that these things may well come back, that our food would be rationed so that we can't have runs on supermarkets. And of course, it would be sold to us in that method that, isn't it a good idea that we prevent people from panic buying? But instead, I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. Should this happen, and of course I'm not saying it will happen, but it would not surprise me that this is the kind of treatment that these elite people will dish down to us, treating us as if we're all stupid and unable to work things out for ourselves, which of course we can. But if there are food shortages, I can quite believe that they will start selling a concept that actually we will ration you. Now, will it be, if they did that, that we would have books that are stamped? Or would they be pushing it more through a digital currency so that actually, if you bought too much food, you would be prevented from buying any more food because of the digital currency? I wonder if that's where they want to go, because they want to control us and make us impossible to have any autonomy for ourselves so that we can have our own decisions and work out how we do things. But I think we're better than that. I don't think we'll let them. And I think that people are slowly waking up to going, hang on a minute, all this digital stuff, whilst it is good, there is a flip side to it, a not very pleasant side, a digital currency in which actually if we want to stop you buying something because you've had too much stuff that has a carbon footprint associated with it, suddenly your bank freezes. You can't access the money that you have worked for, that is your money. Nobody should be in a position to control what you buy in any mechanism. And I'll have more to say on that in another video. But going back to the concept of potentially rationing people with ration books, because we will possibly have food shortages. We know what's going on in Ukraine, and that's the breadbasket of the world, isn't it? The wheat is, a lot of wheat is that. We're building on farmland in this country with houses that few people can afford. We're not self-sufficient as we once were. I'm beginning to think that more and more of us should be turning to our gardens and any allotments that we can get our hands on and start growing our own so that we actually have more control over the food in this country than allowing it to people who are punishing farmers for wanting to make a living and wanting to supply to the world the most important commodity that we can have, food. Because if you control the food, you certainly control the populace. So I'm slightly concerned, looking at these pieces of memorabilia from the 1940s, of what the future might behold. I would be interested in your thoughts and comments.